welcome to the 6th annual Prime Cuts event. We're really proud to be celebrating this 6th year. And I wanted to first thank Melissa Brown and Barbara Chase and the Academy staff for, in the middle of an insane season every year, just before the Emmys, helping us put this together. So here's Scott.
Hi, Mom.
So a little hand for the Academy staff. Very generous sponsors, the Editors Guild and Photochem. This is the second year that they have both come in and helped get this thing paid for. And ACE, who is also a co-sponsor who gets us into this theater and in association with the American Cinematheque and helps us with publicity. So they've been in it from the very beginning. So we're very proud that we put together the Editors Academy Peer Group, ACE, and the Editors Guild. I'm not sure if it could possibly be the first time that all three organizations work together on a joint event. I want to welcome our incredible panelists. We have I'm not bothered to name them all. You've seen them, and Sean's going to introduce them anyway. So let me just jump to Sean Ryan. Sean has been involved in this panel from the very, very beginning. He was the first person we went to, primarily because of his reputation of being really knowledgeable about the editing process. I just heard a comment from one of our panelists who worked with Sean on The Shield, and it was a little bit insightful as to why Sean is that way. He talked about how The Shield in particular, and Sean's shows in particular, are not formulaic, and in primetime television, that's a pretty big deal. And in order to maintain that level of work, you've really got to know what's going on in the cutting room. So I think that says a lot about why Sean is who he is and why he has been such an incredible host and moderator for us all these years. What else did I want to say about him? Well, he told me not to worry about announcing his new credits because he's going to sneak it in during the show anyway, so I won't worry about it. So without further ado, Sean Ryan.
Thank you. Thanks all of you for coming out here on a Sunday afternoon to witness this conversation with a group of incredibly talented editors who are nominated this year for their work. Please silence your phones and pagers, if people still have pagers these days. And some of us here on the panel are big football fans, and we are foregoing our favorite teams at the moment, and we are going to watch them on tape delay. So please don't mention any NFL scores, especially the Eagles and the Bears. Without further ado, let's introduce our panel. An Eagles fan is our first one. Nominated for his work editing the Oscars opening, Kabir Akhtar. Nominated for her work for American Horror Story, Fabienne Bouville. Nominated for his work for the 2012 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony, John Zimmer. Nominated for his work on Deadliest Catch, Josh Earl. Nominated for his work on The Big Bang Theory, Peter Chakos. Never nominated for The Shield, but nominated for George Harrison, Living in the Material World, David Tedeschi. Nominated for both Curb Your Enthusiasm and Modern Family, two separate nominations, Steve Reich. And finally nominated for Breaking Bad, Kelly Dixon. So a quick word about the format of this. We're going to try to give each of these people a little time separately to talk about their work. So we'll spend about 10, 12, 15 minutes with each person. They'll show a clip from their nominated program. I'll ask questions, and then we'll move on to the next person. This will take a little while. Then I'll ask a couple questions, sort of open for the panel as a whole, and then we'll try to reserve 10 or 15 minutes at the end for questions from you, for either for an individual panelist here or for the group, okay? So that's how we're going to do it. I want to get through this quick because there's a lot to talk about. So let's start with Kabir, who has a really, really fascinating list of credits that include The Daily Show, Arrested Development, including the new episodes that are going to air shortly on Netflix. But you're nominated here for the Oscars opening ceremony. Talk first of all about how you got into the business of editing and what makes editing a thing like the beginning of the Oscars so different from your other credits.
How I got into it? You know, I moved here. Back in the day, in college, film school, and then I was like optimistic. I'll move to LA and get a job because that's what happened. Moved out here and had 1, 2, 3 months of no work and sleeping on a mattress with a friend of mine because we were sharing.
3 months of no work. Some of us have worse stories than that.
Yeah. I feel very fortunate that it was only 3 months. But eventually, one of my roommates had a professor. The professor had a son, and the son had a company who needed editors. And he got a job, I got a job. And then we just started keeping each other employed because that way the rent was paid. And every job, I can trace every job, including this day here, all the way back to that first job.
So let's talk about your nominated work here on the Oscars. People, I'm sure, remember the Oscars this past year. Billy Crystal filled in after the original producer and Eddie Murphy fell out. He's done these kinds of things before. The Oscars and Billy, he puts himself into the middle of some of the more iconic films of the last year. What are the challenges of doing that kind of stuff? How much footage from the films do you actually take? How much stuff do you film new? Like there's a thing, I don't know if we'll see in the clip, where George Clooney comes and kisses Billy. So obviously that was filmed new, or I assume it was. You tell me, what was done?
Well, the thing about something like this is that before we cut it, obviously we have to shoot it, but before we shoot it, we have to cut it with all the clips from all the movies and just little, stick figures of where Billy's going to go. So we know what shots we'll have. Any part of the movies that we put him into, like we put him into The Artist, we put him into The Help, we put him into Midnight in Paris. You've got, you basically have half of the scene that you're working with. So I've got all these angles on whoever else is in the movie, like the lady from The Help and all these. But Billy thing, we'll either build a set, if we're fortunate, or just shoot it all green and composite him into shots that are there. So it's a ton of work.
And there was some especially difficult previs or 3D stuff as it related to putting him into the world of Tintin, right? What was challenging from an editorial aspect about that?
We didn't really know what it was going to look like until the very end. You have to imagine that, like, this thing, I don't know. I've done this long enough that I shouldn't be surprised by this, but that we're finishing this, and getting final graphic shots the night before the Oscars at 3 in the morning shouldn't surprise me. But, still, like, in the final, week, we're all like, what is this going to look like? I've got lots of shots of Billy, harness, flying in the green screen. I'm, like, holding on to something that's, he's holding on to, like, a broom handle. I'm like, well, that's going to be something. We don't know what the world behind it looks like at all. But all that Tintin stuff, we got all the shots from the movie. Weta Workshop actually gave us all the shots for that movie. They re-rendered them all without Tintin in them. But most of the shots that we used, like things we needed, didn't exist. There's a shot of him flying through the air, and like the shot in the movie is just from behind Tintin as he flies through the air for a long time. But we have Billy Crystal, we want to show his face. There's no shots of Tintin's face. There's no reverse. So I take all the shots, with flying through the air shot, like turn it around and run it backwards. And doubled as a close-up background for Billy, for example.
A lot of the editors on this panel have edited a wide variety of stuff. None more so than you. I gave some of the credits. The Daily Show, Unsolved Mysteries, and then I see Arrested Development here as well. Is an editor just an editor capable of doing anything? Or like as writers, a lot of times we get pegged as drama writers or comedy writers or documentary writers. Can editors kind of do anything, or is it the same job? Is it the same part of your brain that edits Arrested Development as the one that does this, for instance?
I actually didn't edit The Daily Show. I directed part of it, and directed part of Unsolved Mysteries, so I can do anything.
But okay, but let's talk Arrested Development, which you are editing, and this. Two very, they would seem very different to, to the average person. Is it just the same side of the editorial brain? Or is it a completely different itch that you scratch there?
I think it's all storytelling, man. Like, you've got certainly different challenges. It's like doing, I don't know, it's like doing different workouts or cooking different kind of food, with different ingredients. You're still gotta make it work, you're using different muscles. I mean, for this, it was tons of like compositing green screen work, thinking about what this world's gonna look like and making jokes work, for entertain a certain kind of audience. It's gonna be, 4 minutes long. For Arrested Development, it's, they all work. It's just a matter of picking what works and getting the timing right, that your pace is different. But it's all storytelling, and hopefully making it funny.
You talk about, making sure the jokes work. Who sees the final product before it hits air? Who's deciding the jokes work? Do they run it past any kind of test audience? Is it just the producers and you? Producers, you and Billy? Who's the final judge of, okay, this is ready to go on air?
For this one, this process was better than so many shows because there was so little involvement by almost anyone except for Billy Crystal and our director, Troy Miller. There was no network involvement, there was minimal Academy involvement, there was very few outside forces. So it was really Billy's vision that just came through. And, he was such a, man, I gotta say, such a great guy to work with, smart, respectful, punctual, really gets production, spontaneously quotes The Princess Bride when you're working with them. It really, made the process so easy, Billy likes it, and we're like, good, we know we're doing the right thing.
Very good. Well, let's get ready to watch a clip, then we'll come back and ask a couple more questions. So I assume we're ready to show the first clip of the day. If for some reason we're not, I'll vamp. But let's see if we can bring the lights down and show the first clip here.